Hello, my name is Dylan, and today I'll be presenting my research project about cross-sectionality perception, the interaction between visual complexity and written descriptionality. The rationale of our study was to explore human perception and the intersectionality between the modes of visual and written verbal comprehension. In 2022, Sun and Firestone conducted an experiment where they measured the amount of words used to describe paintings of different levels of complexity. What they found was an inverted U-shaped relationship where the length of verbal description will be the highest when subjects are presented with medium-level complexity stimuli, but will decline with either an increase or decrease of complexity. Another study done by Sun and Firestone in 2021 concluded that cognitive skills related to complexity are related to survival factors. The phenomenon which they found suggests that concrete image components, which are more relevant to human life, may trigger the survival instincts and thus yield more extensive and longer descriptions. This seems to be an evolutionary explanation for why medium-level visual complexity yields the most exceptional verbal output. Several studies have shown significant evidence in support of high and low complexity visual stimuli being more challenging to comprehend than medium complexity. In 2019, Marlin and his team manipulated the ambiguity of verbal instructions in visual complexity on target identification. They found that participants were much slower at identifying the correct high complexity visual targets. While this did not suggest an inverted U relationship explicitly, it showcased that high complexity doesn't equate a high response rate. Another study by Kidd and his team in 2014 manipulated the complexity of auditory stimuli on infant auditory attention. They discovered the same inverted U-shaped pattern from low to high levels of complexity, where medium was paramount to maximum response. A study done by Cargis and his team in 2023 proposed the use of compression ensembles to quantify visual complexity. PC1 values are quantitative measures that refer to the digital compressibility of an image. What we want to know is, does the level of PC1 value, with the two levels being moderate and high, and visual complexity being concrete or abstract, have an effect on verbal comprehension? We would also like to know if Eastern or Western cultures receive more meaning in abstract art. We predict that the level of PC1 value and visual complexity will have an effect on verbal comprehension. We would also note that culture is not an independent variable and will be observed just out of curiosity. We had 89 participants that attempted the study, but 26 results ended up being excluded from the final data sample, leaving us with a total of 63 results. We recruited all our participants over social media such as Instagram, WhatsApp, and Reddit. The average age of participants who participated in our study was 29.38, with a standard deviation of 13.86. The youngest participant was 14 and the oldest was 82. We had 50 females and 13 males in our final sample. 37 of them were non-students and 24 of them were in school. 31 participants between 18 and 24-year-old were the majority of our study. 3 participants reported being from Glendon, while 6 have participated in a study similar to this. Our culture demographic breakdown consists of 5 Eastern, 7 other, and 49 Western participants. In our procedure, participants will be given a link via social media. Participants would then read instructions telling them they will see a series of 8 paintings. Please describe each in the text box provided. Due to the 2x2 design, there are 4 groups in total. 2 images matching the criteria were assigned to each group, and each participant received all 8 images to describe. Each image featured a text box for the participants' responses, with only 4 images per page. 2 variables were manipulated within the procedure, which are the PC1 values of the images and the image component types. After the manipulation portion of the study was complete, participants were asked a series of demographic questions in order to get a better idea of the sample collected. The materials used for our experiment was an electronic device with stable internet access, the Qualtrics website, study instructions and images, which we can see on this slide, demographic questions, and our debrief and thank you message. In our results, we found that Group 1, which is high PC1 and abstract, had a mean of 12.18 words used with a standard deviation of 13.01. Group 2, being low PC1 and abstract, had a mean of 10.47 words used with a standard deviation of 10.7. Group 3, being high PC1 and concrete, had a mean of 11.84 with a standard deviation of 10.82. And Group 4, being low PC1, had an abstract, having a mean of 11.32 with a standard deviation of 12.84. We can see the histograms on the right side of the slide here show us that most participants used around 11 words per image. For the visual complexity main effect, there's an F ratio of F1, 62 equals to 0.18, where P is larger than 0.5, with concrete image component type level coming with a mean of 11.58 and a standard deviation of 12.65, in the abstract image component type level coming with a mean of 11.29 and standard deviation of 12.95, with no effect size. For the PC1 value main effect, there is an F ratio of F1, 62 equals to 3.95, where P is larger than 0.05, with moderate PC1 value level coming with a mean of 10.89, and a standard deviation of 12.47, and the high PC1 value level coming with a mean of 11.98 and standard deviation of 13.13, with a medium effect size of 0.06. For the interaction effect between PC1 values and image component type variables, it indicated no significance with a small effect size of 0.2. Oh wait, no, 0.02. All results were insignificant since it was lower than the F ratio of 1.62 critical to 3.9, F ratio of 1.62 critical with a 3.99 and alpha of 0.5. The results from our study indicate that there's no significant influence between the length of word descriptions and the visual complexity and PC1 value. Our findings challenge previous research, which would suggest that there is an inverted U-shaped relationship between visual complexity and verbal description length and comprehension. Our findings may suggest that verbal description length may also be influenced by other factors beyond visual complexity, such as individual cognitive processes or contextual factors. Our study highlights the importance of considering multiple variables and how they influence perception. Future research could look further into individual differences of verbal description strategies and additional dimensions of visual stimuli complexity. It would be beneficial to replicate the study again with the target sample size. This would indicate whether the insignificance we found in our study was due to the variable or simply due to inadequate sample size. In addition, the final sample utilized was composed of primarily Western culture participants. Replicating the study with a more diverse sample and focus on the influence of culture on visual, verbal, written complexity could reveal more details about human nature and perception. I would like to thank Natalie Tubal for working with me on this experiment, and Anna Badal and Dr. Marion for supporting us as we worked on our study. And thank you for listening.